Sup, you beautiful bastards. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, and let's just jump into it. And the first thing we're going to talk about today is why Netflix and 13 Reasons Why are back in the news. And a big note before moving forward, we are going to be talking about the topic of suicide. I know some of you appreciate a warning before we jump into those topics, so if you're wanting to avoid that topic, here's the time code to skip to. Now, if you're unfamiliar with the show, it's about a teen girl who leaves behind 13 tapes that explain why she chose to end her life. And as you might remember, back in 2017, we covered the backlash after the first season premiered, and that season included a scene where you had a teenager slitting her wrists in a bathtub. And following this, some felt the way that the show portrayed suicide, it was problematic, that in some ways it glamorized the act. It also didn't discuss many of the underlying factors. We saw groups warning parents about the show's possible negative impact on young people, this including the National Association of School Psychologists and the Society for the Prevention of Teen Suicide. And in response to all of this, Netflix added more content warnings that also directed viewers to support groups. But along with this, some, including Selena Gomez, who is one of the show's producers, felt that the show was showing what teens are really going through, saying, "I understood that we were going into something that is difficult, but these kids today are so exposed to things that I would never even comprehend when I was 8. I feel like if this is what we are going to talk about, we might as well do it in a way that's going to be honest, it's going to be real, and it stays true to the book." But why are we talking about that today? That happened back in 2017. Well, according to a study funded by the National Institutes of Health that was published on Monday, in the month after the show was released, there was a 28.9% increase in the suicide rates among U.S. youths, mostly male, ages 10 to 17. And ultimately, between April and December of 2017, these increased rates led to 195 more suicides than were expected based on data from previous years. And also of note here is they found no significant trends in suicides for ages 18 to 64. Though, and I really think this is an important note to hit on, it's something that is going to be missed by people just reading headlines and then spewing that same information. There is an asterisk on this situation. Because of the study's limitations, they could not make a direct causal link, which basically means that this study cannot say that 13 Reasons Why is definitely the cause of the increased rate in suicide, just that the rates did increase in April and the show came out on March 31st. But still, the researchers did say their findings, quote, "should serve as a reminder to be mindful of the possible unintended impacts of the portrayal of suicide and as a call to the entertainment industry and the media to use best practices when engaging with this topic." And the lead author of the study, Jeff Bridge, a suicide researcher at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, said, "Youth may be particularly susceptible to suicide contagion, which can be fostered by stories that sensationalize or promote simplistic explanations of suicidal behavior, glorify or romanticize the decedent, right, the person who just died, present suicide as a means of accomplishing a goal, or offer potential prescriptions of how to die by suicide. Portrayals of suicide in entertainment media should avoid graphic detail of the suicide," which the series did not, and adhere to best practice guidelines to reduce risk of subsequent suicide. As far as the other side of this, a Netflix spokesperson said that they were still looking into the study and added, "This is a critically important topic and we have worked hard to ensure that we handle this sensitive issue responsibly." And that spokesperson saying that this new study conflicts with research published last week by the University of Pennsylvania, which said that they found that adults aged 18 to 29 who watched the entire first and second season actually reported declines in suicide ideation and self-harm relative to those who didn't watch the show at all. But in addition, the study also found that if someone stops watching before the end of the second season, they exhibited greater suicide risk and less optimism about the future than those who continued to the end. Though, and this is an important note here, this study did not focus on the same age group and included the second season. And a big thing to note here is this is not just a story that matters as far as the past. The show, of course, had that second season. It has been picked up for a third, so it's very likely that when that third season premieres, this will pop back up in the news. There will be a debate again. And as far as my personal reaction to this, it's kind of two-pronged. One, as someone that covers stories that involve self-harm, suicide, it definitely concerns me that I could be doing something better. And even me being of that mindset, that's kind of my own personal evolution, because I've definitely been someone in the past that kind of mocked trigger warnings. But I think based off of the conversation that we have had over these years, there are certain topics I greatly sympathize with, that it's allowed me to view life from many different lenses thanks to you guys. And two, as far as the show itself, I personally enjoyed it, but I do see how it could be troublesome. Without spoiling it for those who have not watched it, there are moments where it does seem to glorify the act in that it accomplished something, right? To oversimplify, the teenager set out to accomplish something. The catalyst for everything that would then follow was the suicide. And once again, even just saying this is simplistic, talking about the season and all the different angles, that would take an entire video. But yeah, it makes me wonder, how can you do it responsibly? Like Selena Gomez said, trying to be honest with this. I mean, that scene is horrifying, right? Where is the right line of using this as a conversation starter, but at the same time making sure kids, right? The main focus where we started the story is 10 to 17-year-olds, that they're maybe consuming this in a safe and responsible way. Once again, even saying that, it's something that I probably would not have said 5-10 years ago. But I think, one, my viewpoint has changed because I am actually now a father and I'm fucking horrified about how the internet and anything is going to affect my child, and so I try and do everything together or just be there and inform. And I try less and less to compare how I would have maybe reacted to something when I was that same age, because A, we're all somewhat different people, and B, I mean, growing up now does seem very, very different. And understand, I'm not saying 13 Reasons Why is the cause of this. I'm simply saying that I understand that there is reason for concern, and I'm very much looking forward to the more information we can get on this topic. I mean, we've talked about other studies and research in the past, like depression in young people. It is a very scary, spiking topic. With all that said, of course, I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts regarding all of this? Then, in quickie industry news, there is now another YouTuber getting a TV show. That person is Tana Mongoose? No, that's not it. Tana Mojo Jojo? No. Tana Mojo, that's it. Of course, you've seen her on such hits like TanaCon and the Shane Dawson series that made a lot of people forgive her for TanaCon. But yeah, it appears she is joining the ranks of internet-y, YouTube, Instagram person that gets a TV show. According to her announcement, it is an MTV show. It's called No Filter, Tana Turns 21. It appears to be a reality show. And I would probably take this moment to hate on this photoshopping aficionado, but she's so self-aware it's kind of hard to. Like in her announcement on Instagram, she wrote, "I've always been talentless, but to finally be talentless on an MTV reality show is such an honor for me. Did I mention it's on MTV? I remember watching The Hills as a young girl wondering how many nose jobs I needed to get there. Turns out just one. Like, I'm gonna hate myself for it, but I will probably watch that just to see if it's a train wreck." While a majority of my job is obviously very news heavy, I love trash TV. It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I'm one of those idiots who pays for the live cams for Big Brother at times. I'm a big fan of The Challenge, and this is already embarrassing enough to admit, so that's where I'm gonna end this segment. Yeah, sometimes I need that stupid and or it doesn't matter so that I can recharge for the stuff that does. But from that, I wanna share some stuff I love today, and today in Awesome, brought to you by Ridge.com/DeFranco. And the Ridge, if you don't know, is a fantastic minimal front pocket wallet that is designed to let you ditch your bulky wallet. The Ridge wallet is slim, RFID blocking, lifetime guaranteed, and it is honestly the last wallet you'll ever need to buy. It comes in titanium, carbon fiber, aluminum, and polycarbonate, and on top of that, there are over a dozen different styles and colors to choose from. What's awesome with its sleek design, right? So you have two metal plates bound together by a durable elastic band. It's easy to get out what you want and easy to put in something new. And if that wasn't enough, they also have stylish phone cases. I personally picked up their leather one, weatherproof duffel bags, backpacks, durable charging cables, power banks, even knives. So no matter if you're just looking for a new wallet for everyday use or you are a seasoned traveler looking to upgrade your gear, Ridge has got you covered. And best of all, if you are ready to make the smart move today, just head on over to Ridge.com/DeFranco. Make sure you use code DeFranco to get 10% off with free worldwide shipping today. And the first bit of awesome is, if you haven't seen, this morning we posted an extra morning news deep dive after today's show. I'll include it in one of the top links down below. I highly recommend you check it out. Also, as of next week, we're gonna be going from the current 2 morning shows a week to 3. And as of right now, we have those scheduled to go out every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday morning on this channel, in addition to the Philip DeFranco shows. Then, I don't know if I've actually mentioned this in a YouTube video. I know that I've talked about it on Twitter and Instagram. July 5th to 7th, I'm gonna be at RTX Austin this year. As I mentioned last year, I'm gonna be skipping out on VidCon this year, looking out to see if there are other interesting conventions. And RTX, and they're not paying me to say this, RTX was at the top of my list. I love a good selection of the shows in their network. The audience in general has been badass and very nice to me. But yeah, if you're going already or you pick up a badge, which I believe are still available, I'll include a link down below. Hopefully I see you there. Then we have Bon Appetit teaching you some cake assembly. We also got a trailer for the Simon Pegg horror comedy Slaughterhouse Rules. Binging with Babish gave us ice cream flavors from Avengers. The infographic show gave us how Jeff Bezos gets his money from Amazon. We had the cast of Rocketman breaking down Elton John's iconic style. We had Seth Rogen and Charlize Theron taking a lie detector test. And finally, we got the trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog, which I personally do not find to be awesome. Maybe you do. But the reason I'm including it in Today in Awesome are the responses to the trailer have been stellar. I am incredibly skeptical. If you've watched for a while, you know I always go into anything entertainment hoping to like it. I'm not a big fan of just kind of hating on stuff, but I cannot deny that after watching that trailer, I felt whatever the opposite of what I felt after the Detective Pikachu trailer. Like, I know my son will probably enjoy it, and I think that's what they're really counting on, and the casting seems pretty great, but I would be lying if I said, man, I can't wait for this movie. And if you want to see the full versions of everything I just shared, the secret link of the day, really anything at all, links as always are in the description down below. And then let's talk about easily the most infuriating story today. And that is the story around Shane M. Pesci. He's a former bus driver in Watertown, New York, who pleaded guilty to third-degree rape in February after raping a 14-year-old girl who he met on his bus route. And after pleading guilty, Shane is being sentenced to 0 prison time. Instead, he was ordered to serve 10 years of probation and will be required to register as a level 1 sex offender. He's getting probation for raping a 14-year-old girl. As far as the specifics, the 26-year-old was arrested back in September of last year, and he was charged with second-degree rape, first-degree unlawfully dealing with a child, and endangering the welfare of a child. He reportedly met the 14-year-old victim while working as a school bus driver and later assaulted her in his home. Back in February, the victim's mother told the news that this bus driver had bought her daughter gifts, invited her and other minors to his home where he gave them alcohol. That same month, he pleaded guilty to a lesser charge of third-degree rape. In addition to those 10 years of probation, 3 orders of protection were also issued against him. He's also no longer allowed to be with anyone under the age of 17, although there were some exceptions approved. And part of the reason for no jail time is his designation as a level 1 sex offender. That is specifically given to individuals who are seen as having a low risk of committing the crime a second time. Although of note here, the district attorneys had actually called for a designation of level 2 sex offender. This would have required his complete address to appear in the online sex offender database, according to the state. However, Judge James McCluskey said that the level 1 designation was more appropriate considering that he had no prior arrests and that there was only 1 victim involved. Which, my response, if I can take a moment to just address Judge James McCluskey very quick, go fuck yourself, you fucking idiot. No prior arrests, only 1 victim. A grown man sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl. This is an individual, a monster, in my opinion, who has forever changed this young girl's life. You have Pesci's attorney trying to spin this as, like a just punishment, saying he'll be a felon for the rest of his life. He's on the sex offender registry for a long time, but he's not in prison. He essentially gets a glorified, you better not do it again, otherwise, ooh, you'll be in big trouble then. It's disgusting, it's infuriating, it is heartbreaking, especially when you hear from the mother of the victim, who's talked about her daughter now having to struggle with depression and anxiety. And in my opinion, this appears to be a blatant failure of our justice system. There was only 1 victim. I can't get past that. But ultimately, that's where I'm gonna end that one before I say something I regret or that gets me in trouble. And of course, I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts on this? Also, side note to Shane Pesci, I registered a website under your name that takes people right to an article about what you did and the sentencing here. Have a life. And then let's talk about this still developing situation in Venezuela. We've talked a lot about Venezuela over the last few months, and if you've maybe missed our coverage, here's kind of a quick oversimplified TLDR. In January, Venezuela's National Assembly used its constitutional powers to declare opposition leader Juan Guaido interim president until fair elections could be held. Since then, Guaido has been recognized as the president of Venezuela by more than 50 world leaders, although some countries still support Nicolas Maduro, this including Russia, Cuba, China, and Iran. And the last time we talked about Venezuela, they were falling even deeper into crisis as the worst blackouts in the country's history made humanitarian issues even worse. We also saw Nicolas Maduro and his allies pulling out all the stops to try and undermine Guaido. We saw things like they banned him from office and stripped him of his parliamentary immunity. And that last point is of course very important because despite all of the support for Guaido internationally, internally, Maduro has been able to hold on to power because he has filled government and military leadership with people who back him. And as we've talked about before, many experts believe that in order for Guaido to successfully take power, he has to have the backing of the military. Which brings us to today because Guaido posted a video on Twitter announcing that he was launching the final phase of his plan to oust Maduro and called for Venezuelans and the military to rise up against the regime. Guaido delivering the message while he was surrounded by men in military uniforms at an airbase in Caracas. And most significantly here, Guaido said that his plan had the support of the military forces, saying, quote, "The National Armed Forces have taken the correct decision and they are counting on the support of the Venezuelan people." Guaido added that soldiers had already taken to the streets and were protecting the Constitution. Following the video, reportedly Guaido and the soldiers there clashed with soldiers who were supporting Maduro, who were protesting outside the airbase, who threw tear gas canisters at them. We then saw Guaido taken to the streets in Caracas, where he and his military escort were joined by protesters. And as of recording this video, these protests are ongoing, and so that means that there are still a lot of updates coming in. I really cannot stress enough that this is a developing situation, but it is immensely important that we talk about. But what we do know right now is that military forces that still support Maduro are violently fighting with members of the armed forces that now support Guaido and anti-government protesters in Caracas. Guaido's military supporters are repelling members of the military still aligned with Maduro's with gunfire and tear gas. We've seen protesters throwing tear gas canisters and Molotov cocktails. We even saw a video of a National Guard vehicle driving into a crowd of protesters running over demonstrators, with reports saying some of them were throwing stones and hitting the vehicle people with sticks. Meanwhile, it was also reported that tons of Venezuelan military defectors rallied at the Simón Bolívar Bridge on Venezuela's border with Colombia to show their solidarity with Guaido. And with all of this happening, unsurprisingly, Maduro and his loyalists have condemned these efforts. In defiance, we saw Maduro tweet, "Nerves of steel. I have talked with the commanders of all the integral strategic defense regions and the integral defense operations zones of the country, who have shown me their total loyalty to the people, to the Constitution, and to the homeland. I call the maximum popular mobilization to ensure the victory of La Paz overcome." We also saw Venezuelan Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino writing in a tweet, "We reject this coup movement that aims to fill the country with violence. The pseudo-political leaders who have placed themselves at the forefront of this subversive movement have used troops and police with weapons of war on a public road in the city to create anxiety and terror." We also saw other leaders coming forward and supporting Maduro, like Bolivian President Evo Morales. He tweeted, "We strongly condemn the attempted coup d'etat in Venezuela on the part of the right that is submissive to foreign interests." The Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs also criticized Venezuela's opposition in a press release saying that they were attempting to incite conflict. The leader of Spain's caretaker government also came out against the uprising, and we have also now seen Cuba and Turkey condemn Guaido's efforts. But of course, on the other side of this, we've seen a lot of world leaders coming out and supporting Guaido, especially in the United States. We saw the likes of Vice President Mike Pence tweeting, "To Guaido, the National Assembly, and all the freedom-loving people of Venezuela who are taking to the streets, we are with you. America will stand with you until freedom and democracy are restored." Secretary of State Mike Pompeo saying the U.S. government fully supports the Venezuelan people in their quest for freedom and democracy. Democracy cannot be defeated. And just recently we saw President Trump tweet, "I am monitoring the situation in Venezuela very closely. The United States stands with the people of Venezuela and their freedom." Also, as of recording this video, like I said, this is a developing situation. Guaido has been backed by Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, and Colombia. And of course, remember, more countries are likely to come out and take a stance, which is just massive. And right now it seems like this could be a turning point for Venezuela. As we saw, some people who oppose Guaido are calling his efforts a military coup, but others, including Bolton, argue that this is not a coup because he is the legitimate interim president. And a coup, while I understand some people use the word just because it involves the military, I mean, the very definition of coup involves a legal seizure. But we're going to be watching, we're obviously going to be updating the story, and of course, one of the most important parts of this, right, it's whether or not Guaido will get enough of the military to support him in the National Assembly. And the thing is, the reports on this right now are contradictory. For example, Padrino, right, the Venezuelan defense minister, he tweeted earlier this morning, "The National Bolivarian Armed Forces of Venezuela stands firm in defense of the national constitution and its legitimate authorities. All the military units deployed in the 8 integral defense regions report normalcy in their barracks and military bases under the command of their natural commanders." But Guaido appears to contradict that in a tweet, writing, "At this moment, I am meeting with the main military units of our armed forces, beginning the final phase of Operation Freedom." So right now, we're waiting to see what is actually happening and where the chips fall. But with that, that is a story as we know it now, and of course, I pass the question off to you. What are your thoughts around this? And that's where we're going to end today's show. And remember, if you like this video, you want to support this channel, just hit that like button. Also, if you're new here, you want more, hit that subscribe button. For those that are maybe not 100% filled in, maybe you missed yesterday's show, you missed this morning's deep dive, you can click or tap right there to watch those. But with that said, of course, as always, my name's Philip DeFranco. You've just been filled in. I love yo faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.